expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WTJX, its board, staff, or underwriters.
Good day and welcome to Ability Radio. This is a show brought to you by the Disability Rights Center of the Virgin Islands. I am your host today, Angus Drigo, Executive Director. Today we have a show that's a little different. It's our year-end show where we speak to other team members in the organization. With me, I have Archie Jennings. He's our Deputy Executive Director and Legal Lead. Shammi Carr, who does our outreach and training. And Kishma Francis, our attorney in the St. Thomas office. Shammi is also in the St. Thomas office, but she goes back and forth. We are located in St. Croix, next to the old Kmart West, that building you see on your left side. And on St. Thomas, we're at Haven site. The number in St. Croix is 772-1200. That's 340, of course. And St. Thomas, 340-776-4303. I wanted to start first just by saying who we are. We are a protection and advocacy agency. We provide legal support and advocacy for individuals with disability throughout the Virgin Islands. We have a federal mandate to do those things. I wanted to mention this since this is our end of year show, that our mission statement states that we are here to advance the legal rights of people with disabilities, support and empower families, and provide training and information that promotes the overall health and educational development of children and the youth. With that, we'll get into some discussions with our guests, our fellow team members today, Archie Jennings, Kishma Francis, and Shammi Carr. And we normally, when we do outreach activities, we do surveys or we conduct surveys. And the results of those surveys point us to, it's a pulse of what the community feels that we should address throughout the year. And paramount among the items that the community responses have provided to us is mental health services for children with disability and accessibility throughout. I would like to start first, always put children first, and talk to Kishma Francis, who helps us or guides our parent center. We are one of the few protection and advocacy agencies throughout the nation and the territories with a parent center that promotes the well-being of children and their families with disabilities. So Kishma, the floor is yours.
Good day. So we have a Parent Training Information Center, which is housed in the Protection and Advocacy Agency in DRCBI. And this year, we've seen a lot of parents more interested in learning more about their rights when it comes to assisting their student with a disability through the educational process. So we've seen an increase in parents wanting to know about IEP meetings, wanting to know about resolution meetings, wanting to know about due process, just wanting to know about how they can safeguard their children's rights and gain them access to the same education as their peers. So what we've been doing is we've been working with the parents and trying to find strong parent advocates. Under the PTI, the Parent Training Information Center, what we do trainings. We do trainings, and these trainings are based on modules. And these modules not only include the IEP plan, the aspects of it, it also includes the resolution process and communicating with stakeholders or the Department of Education. Under the Parent Training Information Center, what we did last year is we also created the Disability Advocacy and Rights Reading Initiative. So it's a Diaries book club. And this book club allowed us to give out free books to students within the Department of Education. During the extended school year, what we did is it allowed us to have a reader, a Mother Goose trained reader, go into the extended school year and expressively read a book to the students. We also had the hygiene project. And this hygiene project, it helped us out a lot because it was created by our interns. We had two interns, a high school intern and a college intern, DJ Peterson. And what it did is it allowed us to not only give the students products, we're looking at from fourth grade up to 12th grade, but it allowed us to give them information. And the information that these students received were just basic general hygiene practices. But the products, they were deodorant, body wash, toothpaste, toothbrush, and lotion. And for the females, we did feminine hygiene products. So, with all that said, our whole goal as a parent training information center was not only to educate the parents, but also to educate the students. We have another program, and I'm going to let Shammi talk about it. It's a youth empowerment leadership program because that's more of her day to day, day in, day out, and it's housed at one of the schools. So Shammi Carr is going to talk more about it. But when it comes to the whole Parent Training Information Center, our goal basically was to provide knowledge, information on self-care, and these parents were given the opportunity to not only communicate with the Department of Education, but with their children.
Before you get to Shammi, Kishma, I wanted you to just for a brief second talk about, in addition to doing all of these things, that we also represent parents who have difficulties with getting their children evaluated. And if there are instances where we need to file a complaint with the education department or with the courts, we were able to do that. If you just go into that as well, so that the folks who are listening understand that while we may be providing these services and working hand in hand with the Department of Education and so forth, we are also monitoring what they're doing and also aiding parents who are not receiving services.
Yes, definitely. So we are to partner with the Department of Education, but there are some times where the parents need additional assistance. We have a lot of strong advocates when it comes to parents, but they need additional assistance. So we provided assistance with going with the parents to the IEP meeting, filing state complaints against the Department of Education. And in some cases, we have also filed due process complaints. Parents, they're afraid. They are afraid of retaliation for their students, retaliation for themselves when a complaint is filed. So what we do, we ease that burden by assisting them. As an attorney, I am the one on the forefront of the due process complaint, and I submit the papers, or the other counterpart in St. Croix for the due process or the state complaint. But also what we do is we try to give these parents knowledge that this is a process, knowledge that not only that it's a process, that it's doable, knowledge that it's written in IDEA, and knowledge that everything has a timeline. So just making sure that we hold each part of the team accountable is inevitable, is very important.
I wanted you to emphasize on that, really, because we get a lot of complaints, and as you said, some parents are afraid to come forward. And I don't think it's a situation where parents should feel uncomfortable being able to come forward, because even if we work with the Department of Education collaboratively on a lot of things, we also, so to speak, hold their foot to the fire for things when they drop the ball. You were segueing into what Shammi is doing with the EOS school. And Shammi, welcome.
Okay, so I was talking about transition and the fact that a lot of parents need some guidance in how that works, because it is, according to the IDEA, a coordinated set of activities, and that can vary for every single student. So parents are asking us, what should it look like? What goals should there be? What assessments are they using? And so this is something that we can help with our educational advocacy to help parents see the transition process so that that their child actually has a meaningful transition when they go into becoming an adult. One of the things that Kishma mentioned was the training. So we do trainings on transition for parents. We've done in the past trainings on transition for students to talk about things such as self-advocacy, career exploration, and financial well-being. We were able to actually put that into a program, which Kishma mentioned is a youth empowerment leadership program. We've been doing that since last year, fall of 2023 at the Edith William Alternative Academy, which is the alternative school for ninth graders, which can range between the age of 14 to 16 years old. Some have disabilities, some are undiagnosed, some are unsure, but they're all at some sort of risk. And we're able to talk to them about not just disability, but how to become leaders and how, most importantly, to become self-advocates. One of the things that we were really privileged is the community partnership that came with the program. So the program in and of itself has about 4 components. We talk about self-advocacy and self-determination. We talk about career exploration. We talk about the world of work, including soft skills. And then we talk about post-school activities, including finances, potential going in the military, going into college, Job Corps, and other things that are related to independent living. And we are very privileged this year and excited to say that all of our partners that we've had for this year in total has been at least 20 different entities that have worked with us with the students. That's included community partners, that's included employers, that included local VI leaders. And so we feel very confident about the program because it's a mix of education, of instruction, of guest speakers, but also practical things that they'll need for adulthood. With this year, for spring of 2024, we have now become a full partnership with Voc Rehab for this program. And the official name of the program is the YELP program, but it's actually under an umbrella called the Pre-Employment Transition Services, or PREATS. And so this is where VR and DRCVI is collaborating amongst other community partnerships that I mentioned for the spring of 2024. I'm sorry, 2025. Sorry, got to get to the next year. One thing I do want to mention as I segue to talk about Voc Rehab is that if parents are listening, or even students listening to the show, if you're not sure what a transition plan is, if you're in high school and no one's talked to you, or as a parent talked to you about what some goals would look like as an adult, give us a call. We'll help you get started on that. We'll tell you what your rights are, what the process is. And if you need a stop advocate, we can do that as well. One of the big things we provide is information and referrals. So it may be just as simple as that, but it could also mean that you need help with the whole transition plan as a whole. So that's just a plug for our services with that. Now, I want to segue and talk about vocational rehab. I mentioned they're a big, strong partner with our PREATS Youth Empowerment Leadership Program, but we're also working with them because DRCVI, the PNA, is also part of what's called the Client Assistant Program, or CAP. And I'm the CAP advocate here at DRCVI. So in this last year, we've been working with VR, not only in terms of programming, but community outreach, such as the ADA Expo that we did in July. We also did the Governor's Workforce Summit with VR in September. And now we're looking to start to do some of their in-house training for CAP, having to do with kind of rights and responsibility under the program. We'll also talk about accommodations and Title I with ADA. And then lastly, we'll talk about how to blend programs together, meaning that if an individual with a disability is duly enrolled, both with Voc Rehab as well as labor, we can help someone navigate that, because that can be a little tricky, and it's only to the advantage of people being able to be duly enrolled and have a better employment outcome. So we're looking forward to working with VR this year. We've got great relations. And I do just want to lastly say, in terms of the advocacy that I provide, not only just educational, but employment. I myself worked as a ticket to work coordinator, which is related to the Social Security program. I also worked at a workforce, and I've also worked at ADA Center with employment and disability. So I'm very happy to help anybody who's not sure where to start with disability employment. we here can help you do that and get you to the right supports, including vocational rehab. So I'll turn that back over to you, Angus.
Thank you, Shammi, for that set of information. I just want the listening audience to know that when we conduct training and outreach activities, those are housed on our website at drcvi.org. And it will take you to our YouTube channel. So if you miss any of our outreach activities, whether it's for parents or for students or for teachers, you can go on our website and get a link to listen and to learn again. Shammi, and Kishma, and then I'll go to segue into Archie. But I wanted to sort of get a view of, because I know there's a lot of interaction between us and the young people. And when you get young people together, they are very honest and tell you what's happening. What has been your experience in dealing with the young people directly? And I know coming out of COVID, mental health was a big issue for a lot of young people, especially those who are shy, who feels like they didn't have any friends and so forth. What has your experience been interacting with those young people?
Well, this is Shammi. I'll start first, and I'm very glad you brought that up because one of the things we talk about with students all the time is mental health and self-care. And that's related to some of the stuff that Kishma was talking about, like, for example, the hygiene project. So I want to give a very specific example because the students do talk about mental health. And one of the things that kind of came from this conversation was the students wanted to create a brochure for other students to talk about mental health. And so DRCVI supported that brochure. And we're actually in the final production to be able to disseminate that throughout the whole territory to middle school and high schoolers. And basically in this brochure, the students, and again, the content was all from the students. They wanted to talk about, visually, they had some art, so they wanted to visually show what they meant by mental health. They also wanted to talk about it's okay if you need mental health. It's okay if you need support. And in the middle of the brochure, it really talks about it's okay if you need help. And if you're still feeling down after a while, it's okay to ask for help too. And the brochure has just a lot of good information, but most importantly, it is for students, by students. And this is a voice that we feel it's very important that the students are talking to other students as a peer-to-peer support. So Patrick Kishma.
Thank you, Shammi. I wanted to ask that question because when we talk about mental health, we always think about adults. We don't consider children in that conversation. And I just wanted to let folks know out there that children do have a lot of mental health issues and they are not as vocal or it's not as obvious from just looking at them. Actually, in terms of mental health, that's one of the key, or if not the main response that we get from folks when we do surveys annually. And we'll be having our surveys at the ACT Fair coming up in February, I believe. What's the status of mental health in the VI as you see it? I know you're in the weeds there, talking to people with mental illness, talking to families, talking to government officials, talking to providers. Just give us for our listening audience, because the governor declared a state of emergency on mental health, and as to what is being done about it, I'm not sure. Give us your take on that based on what we've been doing throughout the year to tackle that issue.
Well, as you well have stated, access to health care as well as mental health care is a severe problem in the Virgin Islands, and lack of behavioral health service providers is a problem across the United States. It's a growing problem, and that's been exacerbated for Virgin Islands, both 2 hurricanes and then COVID-19. Social distancing put that service area behind the 8 ball, meaning that not enough money to cover all the services that are needed. The declaration has been by 2 governors, Kenneth Mapp and by the present governor. So it's a continuing problem, part of it which had been addressed by there was a change in the mental health laws of Virgin Islands in 2022 to address some of the problems and change system-wise, which is just now kicking into place of how persons are in it, timelines of commitment, and other services that are made available to try to holistically attack the problem by having all the parties who touch upon mental health services sit down and work together on the issue instead of working in silos. So that's still out there to try to get, and just need more political will to make what's in place or what's available across the board. As you noted, we are a part of SAMHSA, Substance Abuse Mental Health Services, under our P&A funding. And with that, we noticed that they're moving more to pull in the judiciary across the United States to also come and focus upon mental health services and ability to address those problems for all the community. Unfortunately, more has money and more attention has been put upon substance abuse, as duly noted by the last couple of administrations. But services across the board, from youth to the elderly, should be addressed. And that's why we also work together with different organizations. One of those organizations to get out the word about protection for persons with mental is through we are an affiliate of the Northeast ADA Center. As that center reaches out to provide across the board information on the American with Disabilities Act and other federal acts that address the needs of protections of persons with disabilities. As an affiliate, our Northeast ADA Center is a division of Cornell University, which, as part of the independence of persons with disabilities, focuses upon employment as well as public access and the coverage of ADA on the public accommodation. So as a student transitions out from education, moves on to the general society, they need protections in employment as well. So the ADA Center gives information about the implementation of the ADA to employers as well as businesses in the community as to what their obligations are for the general population and what protection persons with disabilities have, let's say, access to businesses, access to restaurants, hotels. For employers, it's about reasonable accommodations in the workplace so that persons with disabilities can not only obtain employment, but maintain employment while they are in their pursuit of fiscal independence. So across the board, we as a P&A, Protection Advocacy Agency, seeking social justice, we are trying to collaborate with other organizations within this community and nationally. Within this community, you have the USED at the University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disability. You have the Center for Independent Living. We work with Shammi mentioned VR, and it's the Kishma had mentioned Francis, working with the Department of Education. So we not only remind those organizations of their obligations, but we try to work with them and collaborate with them because we are a social justice organization. And
I thank you, Archie, for that.
Yeah.
There's so much information to share, and we were getting close to our time. It seemed like we've only been there for 5 minutes. We've got so much to share. We encourage the general public to call us at 772-1200 on St. Croix and 776-4303 on St. Thomas, or come to our offices. Our office on St. Croix is located west of the old Kmart, and we're in Havenside in St. Thomas. I know it would be great to have everybody do a wrap up, but we're getting so close out of time. We appreciate you listening. And we ask you, please be kind to individuals with disability. They are your mothers, your fathers, your friends, your loved ones, spouses, etc. Thank you and have a great day.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WTJX, its board, staff, or underwriters.